Welcome to LiveDaf, your online Daf Yomi Shir.
Shalom Aleichem and welcome back to today's Daf Hayemi. Zevachim Daf Chavtes. We begin 13 lines off the top of the Amud Tanu Rabbanon. Here comes a brisa in Teras Kohanim, presenting a source, the source, for the concept of pigul. Now, all of the actual literal wording in the pasuk indicate. The pasuk says, "V'ma ochel yo ochel mipsar zevach shlama v'yim hashlishi." If the carbon should be eaten on the third day, so it's past the allowable time period, then it's pigul. It sounds like it's because the carbon was actually eaten too late, so it physically stayed past the the expiry date. However, as we learned yesterday and again today, we're going to see the pasuk actually is referring to the kohen who had that in mind. He had schemed during the hakrava of the carbon, during the avodas hadam, during processing the blood, that in fact this is what he's going to do. He's going to have the carbon eaten in 3 days' time. That's past the allowable period, or offered to the mizbeach in that time period as well, and that makes it pigul. Tanu Rabbanos, we have learned in a brisa. The pasuk in Parshas Tzav reads like this: the carbon will be eaten. Amar Rabbi Eliezer, says Rabbi Eliezer, you should know, koif aznecha, bend your ear over, cup your ear, l'shmaya, to listen, the true meaning of the pasuk. The pasuk actually is referring to a kohen who's thinking, who verbalizes his thoughts. He's scheming to have the carbon eaten on the third day. So during the hakrava, that's what he's saying. No, perhaps let's go literal. It was eaten on the third day. Perhaps that's what disqualifies the carbon. You can't say that, Amris, because listen, the hakrava was passed. It's over. Amris, can you actually say achar shu kosher yachzor v'yiposel? Once the carbon was kosher on Sunday during the hakrava, just because some of the flesh stayed past, the allowable time, how is that going to disqualify the carbon retroactively? Apparently that's not the case. So when the Torah speaks about the carbon being posel, apparently because there was something deficient within the actual hakrava. You misconstrue the time aspect of the carbon during the hakravas hakrava. So that's Rabbi Eliezer presentation. It must be speaking about the classic pigul, where there was a machshava, there was a deviation, a deficiency within the thought process during the hakrava. Amar Rabbi Kiva says, what's the surprise? We do find a precedent to something which actually seems okay today, but then becomes undone tomorrow, retroactively. Hey, matzinu bezav, v'zava. We find by a fellow who's a zav, a woman who's a zava, experienced, dam, v'shemer yom keneged yom, another version of a zava. Shem bechaskas tahara. So they have to, count a certain amount of clean days. So the zav has to count 7 days to ensure that he's fully clean. Zava as well. Now what happens if on the 4th day suddenly, Kivin Shiro, they notice blood? Sasro, it undoes the whole count retroactively. Apparently, there is such a phenomenon where it seems to be okay, and then suddenly, whoop, it's turned upside down. Likewise, why are you surprised about the carbon? Even in a case where it was fully fine, it was processed properly on Sunday. It could happen that if it stayed out past the time, the basar lasted for 3 days, past the yachsav yipasel, perhaps that will undo the kashrus of the carbon limafrei retroactively. So perhaps that's what the pasuk is speaking about. Amalei, so Rabbi Eliezer responds, this is how I know that it's not so. Look at the pasuk. It says hamakriv, lo yerotza hamakriv. Hamakriv means b'shas hakrava hu nifsal. The psul occurs during the hakrava because he had a mind to eat it later. Vein nifsal b'shlishi, it doesn't become pasul on the 3rd day. We're not speaking about a proper hakrava which became nullified later on in 3 days' time. No, deficiency occurred during the hakrava itself. Well, no, perhaps the word hamakriv is not telling you that it's happening at the point of akrava ella. Perhaps it's coming to tell you that the kohen, zechayin amakriv. You should know that if the kohen has this in mind, he has a mind to eat at chutz l'zmanai, he becomes pasul. He loses his qualifications. He loses his ability to bring karbanis. Perhaps that's the point of the word hamakriv. The one who's bringing the carbon, he gets pasul. The answer is kshu'aymer oisai. Well, the pasuk, and that pasuk says oisai, hamakriv oisai. Oisai means this. So it tells you bazevach nifsal. Humedaber. Ve'enu medaber b'koyin, that was speaking strictly about the carbon becoming pasul, not the koyin. So that's not an option. In which case, the word hamakriv apparently is coming to tell you something else. That what? That the psul of pigul occurs during the hakrava. But now he has another pshat, another understanding. The word oisoi. Oisoi matamad. What's the point of saying oisoi in the pasuk? It's coming to tell you, let's say a fellow delayed, he procrastinated in bringing his carbon donation. He promised today, and then it's a year later, he's not bringing the carbon. What happens to the carbon? Does it become pasul? He should bring it quickly. He should not delay, but does his delay affect the actual status of the carbon? I would think perhaps yes. That's why the pasuk says oisoi. No, only this. Machshava of pigul disqualifies the carbon, but not merely due to delay. Okay? What's the point of oisei? Because the pasuk elsewhere tells us, quickly bring your donations. Don't delay payment of your vows. So perhaps if he does, it disqualifies the carbon. So perhaps lo yiratza, which means it's not acceptable anymore, applies even to a me'acher nidra, one who delays his neder. Tamalema comes to pasuk and says oisai in this pasuk of pigul to tell you oisai b'lo yiratza. Only pigul is lo yiratza becomes pasul, but not simply for delays. Ve'ena me'acher nidra, but one who delays his bringing of his neder b'lo yiratza, he will not be under lo yiratza, which means to say his carbon is still kosher. So we had Rebbe Lezer, who proved from the word hamakriv that in fact the pigul occurs during the hakrava and not later. There's another shita which will provide another source that in fact pigul occurs during the hakrava process. Lo yichashav. Lo yichashav means there's something wrong with the machshava. The machshava who nifsal to tell you the psul occurs through machshava, an expression of his machshava during the hakrava process itself. Ve'ena nifsal b'shlishi. We're not speaking about a psul that occurs later on the third day. So clearly, it's a psul due to something wrong during the hakrava itself, which immediately impacts the carbon. Okay, so again, according to Rebbe Lezer, the word hamakriv teaches that the psul occurs during the hakrava. The word oisei tells you that the psul applies to the carbon itself, and not the kain. According to Ben Azai, the word oisei tells you that a delayed carbon remains kosher. Asks the Gemara. Now, according to Ben Azai, how do we know? The other point. Ben Azai the bezevach hakosem medaber ve'einem medaber v'kain. How does he know that the psul affects the carbon, not the kain? Because he uses oisei for something else. How does he know this halacha? He's saying either you can say nafkele medacherim. He learns it from acherim. Why? Explains Rashi. You see, the acherim learned from lo yichashiv. That what? That it's the machshava that's occurring during the hakrava, which makes it pasul, rather than the fact that it, physically stayed, the carbon stayed past the allowable time. Now, that being so, doesn't that teach us that we're speaking about the carbon itself, not the kain? Right? There's even room to speak about an option of the carbon becoming pasul because it was left beyond its time. Clearly, that's not going to affect the kain. What does it have to do with the kain? It's the fact that Torah has to come and undo that notion and tell you, no, the psul doesn't happen in 3 days' time. It happens today during the akrava. That in itself indicates to us that we're not speaking about the kain. Otherwise, if it's the kain, there's no hava. There's nothing even to consider. Now, the kain should be affected by the meat staying around, right? So clearly, the discussion revolves around and focuses on the korban itself only. Another option would be b'nechsiv lo yirotze. Pasuk says lo yirotze. Now ritzi is a lashon relating to the korban. The korban is accepted by Hashem. It evokes goodwill, right? V'lo yirotze zivchu. That's a term referring to the korban itself. So clearly, we're not speaking about the kohen's status. Next question is, Ben Azai had learned that the word oisoi is coming to indicate that a delayed korban, right? If one delays bringing his neder, the korban is still kosher. Asks the Gemara, why do we need a new pasuk? We already know that from elsewhere. Uben Azai oisoi b'lo yirotze. Only pigul is lo yirotze. Ve'en ma'achar neither b'lo yirotze, but a fellow who procrastinates delivering his korban incurs no, lo yirotze. Macha nafka. Is that learned from here? With acherim nafka, we have another source, a brisa which quotes shitas acherim. By the way, acherim is shitas or mir, as we had at the end of Maseches Haris, right? The Sani, you have a brisa. Acherim oimrim. Perhaps a delayed korban becomes possible. Yochal yehi b'chor ibra shnasai. So you have a firstborn, a b'chor, meant to be brought as a korban within the first year of its birth. Let's say he delayed it. Perhaps it becomes kipsula mikdashim, like the korbanos that became blemished and puzzle. You can't use the b'chor anymore. Tamalay no. The pasuk here lists various items, meiser sheni, and also ubachiris, bekarcha, firstborns. So in the same pasuk, we have a reference to maser sheni, from your grain, and the firstborn animal, the bechor. We make a connection. Makish bechor lamaser. We connect one to the other, and we learn ma maser and nifsa mashan l'chaber, just like maser sheni. Does not become puzzle if it's left out until next year. Av bechor, likewise a bechor, remains kosher, even though he delayed it. So even if it stayed over to next year, it's kosher. So here we see that even a delayed korban, right? And certainly, even a bechor, you meant to bring it as soon as possible. You're certainly not meant to delay it past 3 Yamim Tovim, as discussed in Maseches Rosh Hashanah. So we see a delayed korban is still okay. There you go. So why do we need a new source? And now a Gemara Oisai to tell you that only pigul is a problem, but not a delayed korban. Answers the Gemara Itzrich, we need another source, because there's another twist to this halach. Saka the Tachmina, perhaps I would say, Hani mil b'chor. True, a b'chor remains intact. The lar bar hartzahu, because the purpose of b'chor is not to atone, is not to be mechaper. Aval kachem, but your typical korban. Even an oila, says Rashi, comes to address mitzvah say violations. Even a shlamim is coming to restore peace, so to speak, between Yisrael and Hashem. Aval kach, b'nei haTorah ninu, they all have a hartzah component to appease, which a bechor doesn't have. So perhaps you can only do so if it's brought properly, in a timely fashion. So perhaps a delayed korban won't work. Kamashmon, that's why we need a new pasuk to tell you all korbanos, regardless of category, even if he procrastinated, the korban is still kosher. Ask the Gemara. But again, why do we need a pasuk of oisai to tell you a delayed donation is okay? We have another pasuk. We have another pasuk for that. When the pasuk speaks about late ta'achar, don't delay delivering your donations. It says if one does so, the person will incur sin. Bacha tells you only the person. It's a personal violation, but it doesn't affect the korban itself. The chet doesn't affect the korban, so clearly the korban is still kosher. So why do we need all these sources for the same halach? Answers the Gemara. Lebanazai, homi boile. According to Benazai, that pasuk is needed for something else. We learn vayibachachet. The donor incurs sin for delaying. It doesn't affect his wife. Why would I think it affects his wife? Perhaps I would think. Lezer tells us. Not fulfilling financial obligations could generate chas v'shalom very negative consequences, personal consequences. Ein ishtish l'adam mesa. One's wife will not die elam kain unless he's guilty of financial dishonesty. They're asking him for money. Basically, there's a monetary claim against him. You stole money, and he's refusing to pay. It could adversely affect his wife. You're not going to pay, which is a term referring to his wife. Why should he take that away from you? So perhaps just as when one is guilty of thievery, can affect his wife. So perhaps, likewise, if he doesn't live up to his financial commitments in terms of donations and karbanis, perhaps the same consequence would apply. Kamashman, that's why the pasuk says no. In this case, as long as he eventually pays, he's safe. Even though he shouldn't be delaying, shouldn't be procrastinating, but that itself would not cause his wife to die. That's the point of the pasuk. It's personal, but doesn't affect his family. Okay, so we had Acherim who say machshava nifsal. Nifsal b'shlishi. The word lo yachashav tells you it's a machshava issue during the akrava that makes pigul. But there's no machshava during the akrava. It's just that circumstantially the flesh was left out overnight. That doesn't make the carbon possible. And that's done from lo yachashav. Now Rabbi Lezer had already learned this idea from a different part of the pasuk. So what does Rabbi Lezer do with this part of the pasuk? Rabbi Lezer, hi lo yachashav ma'evli. What does he do with lo yachashav? The answer is meboile. He needs it like Rabbi Yanai. Don't Rabbi Yanai. We learned this many times. Pigul has to be strictly, purely pigul. So he had a mind, he's going to eat the flesh, in a week's time. That's pigul. Provided he didn't insert any other deficient thoughts. For instance, shalei lishma, choslam kaimai. You can't have any other insertions. It has to be strictly kosher or strictly pigul, right? Pigul is a very, delicate process. And that's what we learn from this pasuk. Suppose he has another deficient thought, in addition to the shalei lizmane. It will cancel each other out. Lechashav tells you, in order to make pigul lo ya'arav by machshavas acher, you can't mix in other deficient thoughts, because if there are other thoughts there as well, it's going to undo the pigul. For Rav Mari Masni, he had a different version. We speak so much about the deficient thoughts, like the Shema, Choslam Kaimah, Chosazmana. You shouldn't be doing that. What happens? He gets malchus. How do we know lo yachashiv? He shouldn't have these machshavas. It's a lav. There's malchus. Amalei Rav Ashla Rav Mari. Okay, but lav shem ma'asu. It's a lav, but it doesn't entail a physical act, because the shchita, there's nothing wrong with the shchita. Shchita is proper. It's just that she's scheming and verbalizing something wrong. And we know even a lav, but doesn't entail a physical act. Ain't like no, there's no malchus on that. So why are you giving him malchus? Amalei Rabbi says this halacha is following Rabbi Shita Dama, who says even a lav shein b'maisa, violation which doesn't incur a physical component, like a of this malchus as well. Okay, so bottom line is pigul process entails a kohen planning on either eating or serving the mizbeach shaloi bezmanai chutz lazmanai, right? Beyond the allowable time, that makes it pigul. If one eats it, even now, there's currents. And we learn from this pasuk that, in fact, the pigul gets generated immediately during the akrava. It's not like we're speaking about a benign akrava, but the flesh was stayed over, was left around, and that's not what pigul is about. Pigul is a deformation of the carbon during the akrava itself. And it doesn't affect the kohen, only affects the carbon. Pigul has to be strictly pigul without any other deficient contributions. We also learned that only pigul becomes possible, not a delayed carbon, although not preferred, but it doesn't affect the carbon. And finally, that machashe b'kachim generates malchus. So now the Mishnah will give us sort of a play-by-play of how pigul gets generated. Zaklal. So this is the rule. Kol ha-shechet, one who does shechita, and during that moment of shechita, he's thinking chus l'zmanai, or v'amakabel, or during the kabbalah, v'amalach, or during transporting the blood to the mizbeach, v'azarik, or during applying the blood to the mizbeach. So during at least one of these processes, he's thinking lechel davar shadak lechel, to eat something which is meant to be eaten by the kohen or by the owner, meaning flesh, or ulahakt davar shadak lahakt, or to burn the fats, etc., which are meant to be for the mizbeach. So one or the other. Kazayis, even just a kazayis of this material, and I'm going to do it chuslam kaimai, in the wrong location, outside the Beis Hamikdash. That's not pigul. It's possible. There's no kares involved. But chutzlas mani, if he has in mind to eat it past the correct time, I'm going to burn on the mizbeach tomorrow, I'm going to eat it next week, that's pigul. A higher level of psul, v'chayav of kares, and there's kares involved, if one should eat it even now. But there's one condition, a bilvad provided. Like explained earlier, sheyakriv hamatik mitzvasei. Mati here means the blood, which is the matir on the korban. It enables the korban to be consumed, to be brought to the mizbeach. So anything involving the blood has to be done properly, meaning without any other interfering factors. So, as we explained, there are 4 steps to the hakravas hadam, right? There's to the avodas hadam, shchita, kabbalah, halach, and zrika. During one or all of those steps, if you had a machshava of chuslas mani, there's pigul, provided there are no other deficient plans, schemes, or thoughts taking place during those phases as well. Ketzad karav hamatik mitzvasei. Let's have an example of a proper pigul, where the matir, which means the dam, was fully processed properly. Properly meaning either properly or pigul, but provided there's no other interfering factor. Shachat b'shtika. The shchita he did b'shtika, quietly, without any deficient plans. But then comes the Kabbalah, Kibel, Hilech, V'zarak, Chusas Mani. The next 3 steps were done Chusas Mani. So basically, that's pigul, because it's just pigul without any other deficient thoughts. Or the opposite, Shachat Chusas Mani, or the shchita was done Chusas Mani, and the rest was done, benignly, without any plans. V'kibel, V'halach, V'zarak, B'shtika. Or he did all 4 Chusas Mani. Oishe Shachat, V'kibel, V'halach, V'zarak. All of them Chusas Mani. That's your classic pigul. Zeo shemakriv hamatik mitzvahs. However, ketzad loy karav hamatik mitzvahs. Let's have an example or examples of loy karav hamatik mitzvahs, where there were some other interfering factors during the processing of the dam. Here goes. Shachat chuslam kaimai. He did the shchita chuslam kaimai with that in mind. There you go. That usurps the pigul. So even though he came around and he just resume with the pigul, kibel v'halach v'zar chusas mani, too late, because he already inserted shalei bim kaimai. Or let's say like this: oishe shachat chusas mani, he did shchita chusas mani, so far so good, or so bad, and then he shifted to chusam kaimai, kibel v'halach v'zar chusam kaimai. That's not pigul. Or oishe shachat v'kibel v'halach v'zar chusam kaimai, he did all 4 chusam kaimai. Or let's say hapesa v'achatas, which are susceptible to shaloi lishma as well. If you had in mind a different korban, it becomes possible. So he inserted that thought. That's also an interfering thought, which will disrupt the pigul process. Sheshachton shaloi lishma. He did the shchita shaloi lishma, and then he moved on to chusas manai. But it's too late, right? V'kibel v'alach v'zar chusas manai. Or the opposite. Sheshachat chusas manai. He did shchita chusas manai, and the rest shaloi lishma. Or he did everything shaloi lishman. That's not pigul. These are examples of shaloi karev hamatik mitzvasei. It wasn't fully done for pigul. Continues the Mishnah. Lechol kazayis b'chutz, kazayis l'mocher. So, at least according to one pshat in the Gemara, we're speaking about within the same phase of the avodah. Let's say it's the Kabbalah. During the Kabbalah, he has dual thoughts, dual plans. He's thinking, okay, one kazayis of the basar I'm going to eat outside, so that's chutz l'makayim, that's not pigul. Kazayis l'mocher. Another kazayis I'm going to eat tomorrow, which is pigul. So he sort of combined two psulim in the same, setting. Chusas mani and chusam kaim. Or the opposite. Kazayis l'mocher, kazayis b'chutz. First he thought about chusas mani, and then chusam kaim. Or half and half. Kachazayis b'chutz. I'm going to have gazayis outside and have gazayis tomorrow. Or he switched it around the other way. K'chizayis l'machar tomorrow. K'chizayis b'chutz. Possible, maybe occurs. In all these, there's no pigul. It's possible, but there's no kares because it wasn't strictly pigul. There were other thoughts as well. Rabbi Yehuda disagrees. He says it depends what came first. If pigul got his foot in the door first, then that takes effect. Rabbi Yehuda zaklal. The rule is like this: Kol shemachshavas hazman, kadmal machshavas hamakim. If time comes before place, interesting. There are two types of deficiencies, general deficiencies. One relates to time, one relates to place, which are the fundamental elements of existence, right, of the world. So, if the machshava regarding zman preceded the one regarding place, then that's pigul with kares, v'chayav al kares. But if it's the other way, v'machshavas ha'makim kadma, that preceded the machshavas hazman. So if the time-related issue, the place-related issue preceded time, then that's not pigul. Possibly my kares. Chamaim, they disagree. Chum say whether it came this way or that way, they're competing entities and they cancel each other out. Zevachim, both ways. Possible, the carbon is possible, but carbon is no kares. What if he sought to combine the two types of consumption? He says, I'm doing the shchita, le'echel kachatzi zayis. I'm going to eat a half a zayis of the basar, in a week's time, but only half a kazayis, not enough. So then he's going to go and combine it with another half a kazayis of burning fats tomorrow. Lagte chazizayis. So it's a total of kazayis, comprised of two different achilas, personal and the mizbeach. Can you combine that? No, it's kosher. The carbon is totally kosher. Why? She'en achila v'aktar mitzdarfen. You can't combine. There are two distinct elements of consumption: personal consumption, mizbeach consumption. In order for shloi bezmaneh or shloi b'mkayim to kick in, it has to relate to a full kazayis of either personal consumption or mizbeach consumption. You can't mix and match the two. All the best to you, and atzlacha.